So it's how do you position yourself, how do you take advantage of it, and how can you do that? Let me digress for a minute. I mentioned about the Google Alerts.
Right.
The part B to that tip was using it in reverse engineering it. Is that, I'll give you a perfect example. I set one up for myself, looking for Duke Getzinger anywhere that I'm mentioned. I also look for my website and so forth. I have a couple of businesses, so I'm looking for that. And I got an email digest. The email came in. I saw the site, a little blurb on there, a little sentence, and a link to the site. And it was mentioning my website, my company. So I clicked on it. I went to the site, read the article. They were saying some great things about it, very enthusiastic and interested. And I felt compelled to make a comment. So I commented and I said, hey, I appreciate your interest. You said some really nice things, et cetera, et cetera. And I signed it, CMO of Mile High Swap. And next thing you know, it started a back and forth. They contacted me, are you really, the CMO of this company? And I said, yes, I am. And the next thing you know, I'm on their radio show. And we got tremendous visibility out of it just because they happened to think it was a really cool idea, right. And they loved the site. And now, I came to them. They're the water. I'm the horse. They led me to water. I came to them, and then I made the comment, and they kind of caught me in the trap, and next thing you know, I'm a guest on their show. So what I'm saying is that if you're using Google Alerts out there to keep track of who's saying what about you, if you're interested in collaborating with someone, if you're interested in getting the attention of someone you'd love to do business with, you want to reach out to them, partner with them, whatever, write something about them. Chances are they use Google Alerts as well. It's going to show up. They're going to check.
I had an idea. Can you also use it if there's someone that you want to connect with to put their name in Google Alerts?
Well, the thing is, you can set a Google Alert for any keyword that you want. If you want to do a Google Alert on bungee jumping,
right.
you enter bungee. So anything that's on the web that's about bungee jumping, that's going to come in. But if you do a Google Alert on there, you're going to see that they were mentioned on this site, this site, and this site. And you can click and go to those sites and see where they were mentioned.
And you can also see maybe what they're into in the moment and things like that. So that way, if you're going to want to put yourself on their radar, it might behoove you to write about something about them that is also happens to be on their most current radar, like a new book or a new program or something like that.
Great idea. Yeah, great point. Great point. So if you know what they're into, what their hot button is, and then you turn around and write about it, then you know it's going to pique their interest even more, and they're going to want to know because it's something that's on point. Yeah, but the thing is that if you can get them to come to you, they may have not known you from Adam.
Right.
And if it wasn't for that Google Alert, they'd never even know you existed. But if they're making themselves aware of who's out there talking about them. So if you're talking about them and you want to grab their attention, write about them, and they're going to come to you. As opposed to you trying to figure out how you can knock on their door and say, hi, my name is Don Wells. You want to do business together?
Right. Well,
and you are, sorry?
Yeah, well, obviously this is some really great advice. And, of course, you got me thinking a little bit outside the box now, too, thinking of other uses for the Google Alerts. Now, these are things that people could learn through your upcoming coaching program?
Well, the coaching program is a little bit different. It's entitled Developing Your Marketing Sixth Sense. Mm-hmm. And that's how to see things that others just don't see. And doing that gives you that advantage. But it is training yourself or conditioning your thought process to be able to look at things like Google Alerts and say, okay, I'm going to set up a Google Alert so I can see who's out there talking about me. That's what it's for. It's not for trying to lead the horse to water. But if you can look at it strategically a different way than everybody else would use it, then that's going to give you advantage.
I would love to have I could see one of the benefits of your coaching program for me personally is to give me a routine of out of the box thinking activities like using Google Alerts and different ways to use Twitter and LinkedIn and things like that. So every day I could go with this different mindset because obviously the more consistently you approach things with this different mindset, the more value you'll get from it, correct?
Well, yeah, it's going to become that it's on autopilot. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have it on command. And without even thinking about it, you automatically see things the same way but nobody else does. And it was you and I discussed this once. I made a trip to Florida with my brother back when I was about 21, And when we were in town, we were about to get up and leave, and he said, well, before you go, I want you to meet a friend of mine. And we said, sure. So we went to this elderly gentleman's house. And he asked us, well, what are you going to do while you're in town? And I said, well, believe it or not, we've never been to Disney World. We're going to take a peek at the asphalt jungle, and we're going to go, we're going to go visit it. And he said, well, that's great. You'll probably have a blast. He said, but let me give you a tip. And I said, sure. He says, when you pay your money and you go through the gate, I said, yeah, and he goes, make a beeline for the back of the park. I said, why? He goes, simple. He says, you'll have the whole place to yourself. And he said, think about it. Everybody goes through the gates, and it's kids pulling in one direction or whatever, and it's larger than, and everybody hits that brick wall and just basically deals with whatever's in front of them. And they take it at face value. We went walking past the entire everybody and went to the back of the bus and worked our way forward. And by doing so, we didn't wait in one line. We had the place practically to ourselves. And then when we passed everybody in the middle, we had
you're going against the traffic, Yeah,
and it wasn't, if you look at it as it pertains to marketing, it's just a matter of saying it's the same product, different approach, different experience, different advantage.
Right.
And it's if you can look at business the same way, it's not a matter of saying, okay, maybe I've got an info product to market. I've got a coaching program to produce. I've got whatever it is. It's like if you're taking the same approach that everybody else is taking, you have no advantage. If you think,
go ahead.
If you think about it differently and you alter your approach to give yourself a distinct advantage, you're ahead of you.
You reminded me of some advice I got over 20 years ago about going to the DMV. This was an HR lady, and she said, go 15 minutes before they close on Friday, and you'll get processed faster than you've ever been processed before. Because they want to go home. Yeah. And once you get in the door, they have to process you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that it really comes down to, as far as the coaching program is concerned, if you want to be successful, everybody can be successful. It's just your determination or your guidelines on what successful means to you. But if you want to have a strategic advantage over everybody else, and that's kind of what I get. You ask me, like, what are my common challenges that I hear from everybody? It's like, well, how do I stand out? And whatever I'm doing is not working. Usually because they're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. So you're just competing with yourself.
Or they're trying to imitate someone that is achieving a certain level of success, but for some reason it doesn't work for them, so they need to find their own way, right?
Well, true. That's why I said, I peel back the onion and I ask him questions, because when somebody says, well, what's the strategy for X? I don't know. Who are you? What's your resources? What do you do? It's the visual positioning. There's a lot of things that go into it. It's not a matter of saying, okay, here's my step-by-step process. It worked for me, so it's guaranteed to work for you. That's not the case.
Right.
Because it's just like anything. I can turn around and say, this is how you do something. Well, if you don't put the effort and energy into it that I did, it's not going to work for you.
Correct.
It was successful for me, but it's going to be limited to you. So I can't make you do what I did. But I can show you what I did. Yeah, it's just a matter of how much effort you want to put in.
Yeah, and some people's processes that they come up with are really organic to themselves, and that's why it works, because it's really just an extension of who they are, and they just happen to be on the internet, and it ends up causing their business to really expand. Where someone else, they try to copy it, but the techniques are not organic to them, so they really don't do it the way they must be done in order to achieve the level of success of their mentor.
Yeah, think of it like a cover band. You got a band that's up there and they do everybody else's songs.
Right.
And then you have those people that write their own stuff. And they make their own mark. They have their own signature and they do whatever. I was interviewing Zeke from the outsourcing company for the ebook. And I asked him, I said, who influences you? Just curious. Who influences you? Who do you pay attention to? Who has your ear and why? And he mentioned two people. One of them was Guy Kawasaki, and was it guy from copyblogger.com. The name escapes me at the moment. And I said, well, why? He said, because they have their own style and they're true to it.
Right.
They're unique.
Right.
They're unique. They have their own style and they're true.
Because they're being true to themselves, huh?
Yeah, and you've got to make that mark. You've got to be, who are you, and why should I pay attention to you? If I'm going to take time out of my day, why? And it better be good. Make it worth my while. And that's all that people want. They want it, make it worth my while. That's all I ask. And if you make it worth my while, then chances are you're going to win me over. If I go there and I'm burned, or I go to some kind of a pitch page or whatever and squeeze page, and then you're just trying to get my name and my email address, no. And you haven't done anything to develop a relationship with me prior to that, that's immediate turn off for me. I'm like, I'm not giving you anything.
Right. And if
I'm gone.
And if you're not doing something that's really your thing, it's always going to come across like that because you haven't defined who you are to anyone.